Hello, hello. Sorry, testing. 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 There? Good. Okay. Oh, my time started. Okay. Well, hi everybody. My name is Brenda, and today I'm going to talk about Tellor on Polkadot. Tellor, it's an oracle that's been live on mainnet Ethereum since 2019. And we brought basically our infrastructure onto the multi-chain world. First, I'm going to give you an overview about how Tellor works in general, and then we'll go into how we actually implemented a similar architecture into Polkadot. So, if there's any UX people, please, no judgment. My background is in economics, and I created this because it gets the point across. So for Tellor, basically, anybody can become a reporter as long as they stake, and they risk losing that stake if they provide bad data. But once they're staked, they can start providing data on chain, and anybody can come and dispute the validity of the data for a fee. And if the dispute is successful, they get the whole stake. Otherwise, the staker gets the dispute fee for their troubles. Simple, right? And then for the users, basically anybody can become a user. They can request any type of data, but they do have to provide a definition that any data reporter that's staked can feel comfortable enough providing the data so that they don't get disputed, basically. But once they provide the definition, they can start posting payments on chain. We call these tips. And once they do this, all of the stake reporters will race to provide the data because they will be the only ones to be able to claim that reward. Once the data is on chain, it's open for everybody, including their smart contracts, and then they can use it however they need to use it on their application. And that's how it works in general. We implemented this structure in Polkadot by basically breaking it into two parts. We're going from a world of thinking maybe that there's going to be, one chain. That's not possible, not even in the traditional world. There's plenty of databases out there that are specific to many things. And that's going to happen in this world as well. So what we did for them is basically we split Tellor into two portions. What we're calling the Tellor core, which will live in a parachain, on an EVM parachain that will contain the governance resolution and the staking for all the parachains. And then we have the Tellor palette where any parachain can implement within their system so that their users can use Tellor. Once they implement it, they do have to go and register on the main Tellor core parachain. And I'm calling it a Tellor core parachain, but it doesn't need to be specific just for Tellor. It can be just any EVM parachain containing other applications within it as well. But anyway, they come, they register, and once they register, then they can start exchanging XCM messages. And on the consumer parachain, basically consumers have the ability to post payments on chain, read their data, and dispute the validity of the data. And the way that it would work basically for the data reporters is they would have to go to the Tellor core parachain, stake their tokens for each parachain that they intend to provide data for. They have to stake for every parachain, because we don't want them to just basically stake for one and then go and try and mess up with a bunch of them or provide bad data on them. Once they stake, an XCM message gets through to the Tellor palette, to the consumer parachain, and then they can now start allowing this staked reporter to provide data on their chain. And that way they have the stake so that if they misbehave, they can actually take that stake away. And on the consumer chain, it's very simple. The definition for the data is provided off-chain, but once it's provided off-chain to basically and included on the Tellor client, it's just basically the data reporter. When people are running it, they'll know what to provide, or they can go and look at the specification if they to implement it if they have a different version of the Tellor client, which happens because with competition, a lot of our data reporters have actually created their own closed source clients. And so this is basically how it works. It's oracles basically provide, I think, make blockchains a lot more interesting in the use cases that can be implemented. And Tellor, all we do is basically provide a source of data for anything that you're doing. It can provide anything from numbers, Boolean, and strings. And some of the challenges that we faced when we were actually thinking about the design and how to break it apart to live in this multi-chain world with some sort of efficiency so that it's not like a whole system being deployed on each parachain. It's exactly that. Like before, when you're thinking about any chain, you're thinking about what it exists at that moment. There's no parameters that anybody, deploying a new parachain has to think about. They think about storage, they think about how much to allocate to your palette. All of these things can actually have an effect on maybe even the security of your system, and you have to make a few different changes to actually accommodate for this. Some of the things that we've done or some of the changes or adjustments that we've done have had to do with storage space. And that's something that we had never had to do, basically, when dealing with just one blockchain. But it gave us the opportunity to actually rethink this, since I think ultimately we're going to have to start thinking about how we're going to function as an ecosystem where we're all going to have to adjust to a multi-chain world, basically. For Tellor, anybody, the way that users will pay for their data, basically, it's using the token, the native token of the parachain. And we just thought that that would be more interesting and would give the parachain the opportunity to give their token a use case. And that's pretty much how it works. I really don't have anything else. If anybody has any questions, happy to answer them. And that's it. A very simple system. I think we've all seen staking before, and I think our design has been live since 2019, and we think, well, at least we think that it's pretty solid. We're currently on the testing phase for the palette and the whole basically of Tellor on Polkadot, but we should be live on testnet by the end of the summer. So if you guys need any type of data, please reach out to us. Our senior dev is also in the crowd, but come talk to us if you don't have anything yet for that. Oops, sorry. You can follow us on Twitter and reach out whenever you actually have an application that needs off-chain data. So that's it.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. If we have any questions, we have time for that. Wonderful. David. Oh, let me know.
I can hear you.
It's for
the... super interesting. I was just curious if you guys had development plans for, obviously, I'd assume testnet first. Are you going to Kusama? Both? Kusama first, then Dot? Anything there that you can share yet?
I think that's a question for, are we going to Kusama? Or which testnet are we using?
Yeah, so currently we're getting some help from Parity. They're deploying a private testnet, and we'll see what we can do after that. I believe we have a slot that has been offered for the EVM-compatible parachain by Moonbeam. And then I think Rococo would be first. But I'm actually not sure if we're planning on going to Kusama after that. We just need to get through the private deployment first and test, because for some of the cross-consensus messaging, there's delays in between like the governance decisions, and that needs to be tested in real time as opposed to just being emulated. So that will take some time first. But I think if you get in contact with us on Discord or on Twitter, we can keep you up to date with actual plans on where we're going to be deploying as well.
Definitely, yeah. And before I run out of time, I would really like to thank Good Tom, Frank, Pawan from Parity, and obviously my team. They've done an amazing job at taking this to production. Tim, Owen, and Nick, thank you so much. Yeah.